Alright guys, what is up? Today we are turning this backsplash into this backsplash.
Wake up and bake up this shit, jump out the crib, stack up my Cino this shit, killing my ego this shit, all for the people this shit, only believe in the real, I do
So
believe in
we're
the
using this, just basic subway tile, Sartori, picked it up at Lowe's. We've got 4 boxes here and we're gonna do this whole area under the cabinets, across here. And then this is for our vent hood. All right, so we are using just mastic type 1 tile adhesive and then unsounded grout. And we're just doing white. Got our tile saw set up out here. We've also got the hand cutter and a tape measure and a pencil. And then this is our metal edging. To cut that, we're going to use some of these metal snips and of course the jams.
Alright, so we started by covering the new countertops. We just used masking paper here, and then we went ahead and started and took off the outlet covers, and we pulled the outlets out. So we unscrewed them and just pulled them out so that the tile can slide in behind the outlets. Just make sure you turn off the electric before you touch the outlets. Alright, we added this metal trim edge here to finish off the tile. And then I put this board here where the stove is going to go, just to help me be able to put the tile on so it wouldn't drag while it's drying.
Okay, so we got everything prepped. We added the little edging. We sanded the whole wall here just because it had like eggshell paint. And we're using an adhesive, so we want it to stick. So we sanded all of it and make sure there wasn't any like little bumps or anything on there. And covered the countertops, of course. And we're ready to go. Now, the hardest thing I think is, and one of the most expensive parts, is getting your layout figured out. So we've got our little level here. This is just a Bosch GL30. And so that one's like, I think we got that one for like $90. And then the other most expensive tool is the tile saw that we have outside, but you can do all of this with the little $20 hand saw that you can get at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever big box store. You don't need the tile saw. I like the tile saw because it's faster and it's easier for like little 90-degree cuts and stuff like that, but it's not absolutely necessary. So the hardest part after that, I think, is figuring out how you want your tile to lay. And so when I'm doing a kitchen backsplash, the way I do it, I know there's probably better ways or other ways, but the way that I do it is I always, if I'm gonna have the 2 cabinets here that are spaced out, I find the middle of that. So this one was 32.5 inches, so we did 16.25 here. Mark the middle, get your laser out, and that's gonna be your middle. We're doing a brick pattern here, so we're gonna go on there. One's gonna go like that, one's gonna be in the middle. Once we start laying, you'll see that. And then the other thing to worry about is these countertops are not like exactly level. They're a little bit off. So if I were to try to just start laying my tile on the countertops, this countertop right here, it slopes down this way a little bit. And so my line would end up being, you know, a little bit sloped over here. Or I'd have if I did use a level, I'd have a big gap over here. So I'd have like a 1/2 inch gap over here, and it would, you know, significantly get smaller all the way over here. And then over there, the tile would have fit perfectly. That's what I wanted to do originally, was just go on the countertop level, but it wasn't perfectly level. So then what we did is we have this trim here. We're gonna start from the trim, and our first piece is gonna be right there, like that. So that's gonna be our first piece. And then every piece, once we get to the countertop, is gonna have to, every bottom piece is gonna have to be custom cut to, you know, to fill the little gap that we would have had. So every bottom piece here is gonna be custom cut, and as well as on this side, which is a little bit more work up front. That's gonna leave me with, my pieces are gonna go right here, have it marked off, and it's gonna leave me with a perfect piece up here at the top. So I won't have to do any cuts under the cabinet, and it kind of, it hides that unlevel. And so when I get here, I won't have to do a 90-degree cut. I'll just move on to the next So it saves me a little work up here. It is a little more work at the bottom. So that's the hardest part. Figuring out how to do your layout like that. Just make sure that you're using a level is one thing that I do recommend if you're going to do this. It's a little bit of an expense, but you can get cheap ones on Amazon for, you know, $30. And it's definitely worth it. You can also use a regular level, which we use here to check the countertop level. But yeah, so here we're ready. Our mastic is already pre-mixed, so we're just going to start putting mastic up with a 1/2 inch trowel, and then we're going to start gluing the backsplash on.
Alright guys, so we're using this tile mastic or tile adhesive. Usually you can use this for like backsplashes, but not like wet areas. I just like using it because it's already pre-mixed and it's just like a glue. And of course the trowel size will depend on the size of your tile that you're using. It's always based on the manufacturer's recommendations. So I just work in small areas. The very first line is the most important. So we making sure that we're level here, and we're gonna start the first line. And I'm back buttering every piece, so I'm putting mastic on the back of every single piece and pressing them into the wall when I'm putting them. Alright, and I work around 2 rows at a time in like 2-foot areas. Right here we had to cut every single piece at the bottom, had to be a custom size, and I did that row first. And then I started with the rest of it after. But yeah, the hardest part is, you know, getting it level and getting it squared. And then from there, it's just working in small sections at a time. Don't spread out too much mastic because then it'll start to dry.
Alright guys, so here's what we got done today.
And we stopped right below the vent area just so that we could cut out the drywall that we needed to cut.
We're back. We are gonna finish up the backsplash here that we started yesterday. But first, we've gotta make our vent out to the outside. So we brought the vent hood here. I got it right here. And we're gonna open it up, see where the location is at exactly, mark it, and get the outside vent cover installed. It should be pretty easy because we're on an exterior wall right here, so it should be just cutting into the sheetrock and then cutting into the siding on the side and attaching this. So we're gonna go ahead and do that before we finish up the tile, and then after we finish up the tile, we're gonna grout it.
Alright guys, so this should have been simple, just cutting out some drywall. But we ended up running across an old header. I guess there used to be either a door or a window right here, most likely a door. And so there was an old header piece of wood, 2x6, that was stuck here that we had to cut through. And for some reason we didn't have our router or something that day, and so we kind of had to make these holes all the way around until we were able to kind of stick the multi-tool in there and cut it out. So it was a little bit harder of an ordeal than we thought originally. It should have just been drywall and some siding and attached the cover like we did here. But, you know, once we got it done, we were able to finish up the tile and get everything buttoned up.
Alright guys, we got all the tile laid. I did end up having to put little strips down here, but it looks good. Only mistake that I feel like I made was right here. I originally wasn't gonna put the strips down here, but then so I had one little cut right there that shouldn't be there. Like, this should be a whole piece on both sides, but it doesn't bother me enough to rip out that whole piece. We've got our power for our vent, and then we cut our hole up there. Our vent chute, our metal part's gonna go all the way up to the ceiling, so you won't be able to see any of that, but we're done. We're gonna clean up a little bit and we're gonna go ahead and grout. This has been drying for about an hour. I just put the last little pieces here, and then the top part has been drying for about an hour. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a little bit, and then we're gonna go ahead and grout today. We did have almost a full box left of the 3 boxes. Probably a whole box. I just have a bunch of different pieces running around here. But if you're doing just the bottom backsplash, you can get away with 2 boxes. These are like 20 bucks at Lowe's or Home Depot. And then the mastic, another 30 bucks. What else? Oh, and then the grout, of course, 20, 30 bucks. You're looking at a backsplash for under 100 bucks, including this little tile edge. You can also do like a bullnose tile, which this tile was here when we bought the house. If you haven't seen the walkthrough of the house, check it out. The tile was here, and they also had a bunch of bullnose. So I have about 3 boxes left and some bullnose, which I think we're gonna save because we have another project coming up. We have a duplex that we're gonna redo for my in-laws, and that's coming up. So yeah, let's go ahead. Let's jump right into the grout. Let's clean up a little bit and then we'll jump into the grout.
Alright, yeah, so we're using unsanded grout here. I believe the color we used was called Avalanche, so it's just white on white, real basic. Really, this was just leftover materials that I had from other jobs that we're using here. And of course, you know, we floated it, we got it into the little grooves. This is a pretty relaxing thing to do to me. Is always grouting and then cleaning it just kind of relaxes me. But yeah, we filled in all the gaps. Didn't fill the top gap or the bottom gap with grout because we are going to fill that with silicone later on here.
Alright guys, we got the backsplash done and grouted. We're gonna let it dry. It needs like one more clean, but we're gonna let it dry overnight. So we cleaned it twice with the wet sponge rag, and then tomorrow we'll come back and do a final clean. And we got the hole cut for the vent hood. That's ready, and the exterior part got put in. So everything's ready here to go for tomorrow. We just want to let that dry overnight before we start messing with drilling holes in the tile. But this is our vent hood right here. So just your normal vent hood. This is the vent duct. It's gonna go there, and the duct cover and the power cords. But all done, looks good. Took total of about 10 hours to do the entire backsplash, grout, everything. So not too bad.
Alright, so after caulking all the edges where the tile meets the new countertop, we went ahead and started with the hanging of the vent hood. So this is just based on the manufacturer's recommendations. It has a little bracket. We had to hook up some wires, and then a little bracket that we had to drill into the tile here to make the holes to install the anchors. And we're just using a tile drilling bit here. You can pick these up at Lowe's or Home Depot, wherever. Just make sure that they're for ceramic, and they're usually like around 10 bucks, 10 or 15 bucks for one, but it'll get you right through any tile that you need to drill holes into. And we're drilling 2 more holes up here for the top bracket that'll hold the vent cover. Once we got the anchors in it and everything, we attached the bracket here and the vent cover. And here's our final backsplash with the vent hood, guys. Total, I believe it was 3 days that we worked on it. 1, 2, I think 4, but kind of like half days. We did other stuff while we were here, just with drying times and stuff like that. Let me know what you guys think, and if you have any tips for the way you guys do it differently, put that in the comments down below, and thanks for watching.